Hello everyone, Ember here, back with another video, this time looking at Zereora and Deoxys Vstar and Vmax that were recently revealed. This is a video I wanted to do a little while ago, but unfortunately I didn't have the time to record it, so yeah, let's get into it. So Zereora, Deoxys Vstar and Vmax were revealed. Unfortunately, we don't know when these will be coming out in English, and my best guess is that they will be arriving in the November set, but they may end up coming later than that. I don't think they will be in the next set of Lost Origin. I mean, hopefully. I mean, one can hope, but I don't think they will be. I think they will unfortunately be pushed back into our November set, or they'll become part of a sort of a versus deck that we see over in Europe and parts of America. So, what do these guys actually do? So, Deoxys V, pretty vanilla. Psychic 30, then 30 Morphage Energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. Isn't the worst opening move, to be fair. There is like worse attacks to have on a evolving V. Truthfully though, I think I'd rather just have an ability or, a 1 energy attack cost, but yeah, it's fine. 210 HP as well is okay. Weakness to Dark, little bit of a problematic because of, Glare and Moltres and whatnot, but that's not seeing a whole ton of play. So yeah, I think that's just because Mew is dying down a fair bit and Palkia is taking center stage. Resistance to fighting is quite nice because there has been a lot of fighting decks trying to pop up to deal with Arceus, as well as, Flying Pikachu that's there to counter Palkia, so like the counter of the counter. So I guess Deoxys being resistance to the counter of the counter is helpful. So yeah, pretty cool. But either way, yeah, it's alright. Oh yeah, retreat cost of 2 is fine because we have our balloon. So Deoxys Vmax is not bad actually. It's not a bad Vmax. So first of all, 330 HP. So again, on the tanky kind of end. So not quite 340, but 330 is pretty good. Has the ability Protective DNA that says your Pokemon in play take 30 less damage from attacks by your opponent's V-Star. So what we will immediately jump to, of course, is a quad deck because, we've seen in the past these kind of quad decks. You put a bunch of them in play and they all say stuff like, oh yeah, you take 30 less from attacks, or they have an attacks like Arctozalt where you do some damage to them and then they do damage to you and then they take more damage. So that kind of tanky archetype where you play loads of potions and healing. So Protective DNA, if you have 2 Deoxys, you're going to be taking minus 60. If you have 3 Deoxys, you're going to be taking minus 90. And if you have 4 Deoxys, you're going to be taking minus 120. And that's pretty big. Like, that is a big deal. Because against most of the V-Stars, especially ones like Arceus, for example, who are doing 200 flat or 180 if they have double turbo. So if they're doing 180 and you get that down by even down by 60, so like down to 120, then that's essentially put them out of a 2-hit KO range and they now have to start 3-shotting you, otherwise they need a belt. And even then, I think they'd only be doing like 150, which isn't even a 2-hit KO still. So yeah, and then you have to factor in you can heal. So honestly, not even a bad ability. My main concern, however, is that with a lot of successful quad decks in the past, they typically only needed 1 or 2 Pokemon out in play. But this ability obviously lends itself to you having 3 or 4 Deoxys Vmax out in play at any given time. And that is obviously a slight issue just because you have to, for starters, not prize any. So you have to run Hisuian Heavy Ball. You also have to play Adventurous Discovery, cards like that, just to be able to find Pokemon Search, and that will obviously eat into how many potions you can run. So that is something worth considering. But otherwise, a very powerful ability. And if your opponent is a V-Star primarily attacking deck, they'll have to start running, techs and stuff to actually be able to hit into you. So yeah, pretty good ability. Max Drain after he does complement this very well. Does 160 for 3, and then you heal 30 damage from this Pokemon. Obviously, doing 160 is pretty good because it 2-hit kills a lot of Pokemon. You're probably playing double turbo, I'd imagine, in this build. So you play like Whimsicott. You play it like how Whimsicott builds it, sorry. So you play like 6 or 7 Psychic Energy and then 4 double turbo. And then obviously you'd be doing 140 at that point, which isn't loads. But then again, you're not exactly one-hit killing anything in return, so it doesn't matter. Plus the healing 30 is a pretty cool bonus. So yeah, not a bad card at all. Deoxys Vstar. I'm feeling a little bit undecided about how to feel about Deoxys, but really not a bad card. Could honestly be better than Mew Vstar at this point. I don't think Mew Vstar is very good. Not Mew Vstar, Mewtwo Vstar. But Deoxys is, okay. So Side Javelin for 2-second cause does 190, and it also does 60 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon V. I'm assuming that means benched Pokemon V and not just, another 60 to the active. So 60 Snipe, obviously we have Telescopic Sight in standard format, but let's be real here. No one ever plays that, even with Inteleon Vmax. But then the 60, potentially 90, and then the 190 to the active isn't bad damage. Like, it really isn't. It sets up chaos quite nicely. How are you charging it up, though? Same issue with Hisuian Typhlosion V-Star. You know how are you powering this guy up? We do have Arceus. We do have Shadow Rider, so I guess it could be an Arceus variant. Yeah, maybe this is an Arceus variant, and you play like 1 or 2 of these, and then 2 or 3 of these guys. Just play as an Arceus variant. Could be a thing. And then Star Force says staggered 60 damage for each energy attached to both active. So we've already committed 3 energy for Side Javelin to do 180. Then your opponent has, another 2 energy. That's what? Another 120. So this can be pretty big. Like, this can actually get quite high. I mean, if you think about this, if you have 3 energy already for Side Javelin, your opponent has 3 energy already to attack with, such as like an Arceus, then you're doing 360. So, like, that is pretty lethal. So I do kind of like the idea of this coming in and basically saying, yeah, no, this is like my 1-hit KO move. So, yeah, pretty good. Pretty good card overall. I do think this is pretty good. I'm glad to see that these are actually, playable and not just complete garbage. But Zerora V, moving on a bit. 210 HP, so I think that was... Is that less? No, it's the same. Okay, it's the same. Retreat cost of 1, so that says 2, but it's clearly a 1. So this is a wee bit faster. Not much going on with these attacks. Claw Slash is just objectively way worse than the Deoxys V's starting move. Thunderous Bolt does 190 and it can attack. Can't remember what this one did. 140 for 3. Okay, so this maybe has a better secondary move, but it's obviously nothing to write home about. It's not very interesting. Zerora Vmax, however, is where it's at. So 320. So we are 10 HP less than its Deoxys counterpart, but we do have a slightly better retreat cost of 2, which is very nice. Has great synergy with Flaffy and Air Balloon. Flaffy is going to be mentioned in a minute. So Reaction Pulse does 60 damage for each of your opponent's Pokemon in play that has an ability. So if Palkia has 3 abilities, or alternatively, if they have 2 abilities, one it has to be Palkia, of course. So if you have 2 abilities and you have a choice spell, you just want to kill Palkia. That seems pretty good. And if you're against Arceus, well, they're probably playing a lot of Drizzile. They're probably playing multiple Arceus to attack you with. They might be playing an Arceus Moltres variant. There's just so many abilities running around standard format right now. So I think Reaction Pulse is actually pretty efficient damage. It's probably not enough to build an entire deck around, but it is, it's not bad. Like, it's not a bad move. Max Fist, then Max Fist, cannot pronounce anything today, does 240 damage for 3, and then you discard 2 energy. Pretty bad attack, but it could be a nice finisher if you've already committed 2 energy to use Reaction Pulse, and then, the opponent heals a bit of damage and you can't use Reaction Pulse anymore, so you just have to use the 240. Not the worst. You can reach 280 if you use a Choice Belt and a Zigzagoon Ping, so worth bearing in mind. It's also worth noting that we do have Flaffy in standard format. That's why I mentioned it earlier with the Air Balloon combos. So Flaffy would be a good option here to accelerate Lightning Energy from the discard pile to use Max Fists again. So yeah, not bad actually. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. I think I'm leaning more into Deoxys Vmax. That might be because I'm biased for tanks, but yeah, I'm not sure. I do like this damage though. I think this damage output is actually really good, especially for a Pokemon that's supposed to be like really fast and agile and maybe not doing as much damage. But yeah, no, this is really good. Zerora Vstar. Oh yeah, I just want to say off the bat, I think this is automatically better than Bolton Vmax. If you want to dispute that, feel free to let me know what you think. But So if that deck is okay-ish, then yeah, this is a strict upgrade. So Zereora Vstar. So 270 HP. So we are, I think, wait, Deoxys was 270. Yeah, they're both 270, which is, again, on the slightly tankier end of 280. It's not quite 280, obviously, but it is, at least better than 260 or 250. So Crashing Beat, 2 Lightning Nicholas does 190, and you may discard a Stadium. So this is okay in this kind of Lightning type build if you're trying to maybe win the Stadium War. You want to take advantage of your own stadiums, such as Stormy Mountain to set up your Pokemon. So in Fluffy decks, you will need a lot of bench Pokemon, so it is worth bearing in mind. It will also get rid of Path to the Peak and such, so you can use your own abilities, but neither Zereora Vstar or Vmax actually have abilities. So maybe you don't mind Path to the Peak being in play, and you're just there to shut off Temple of Sinnoh, because you do probably want to be running Speed Lightning Energy, even if you're building Fluffy, or going the Fluffy route, I should say, the Fluffy route. So yeah, not a bad attack. I think the 60 snipe with Deoxys is maybe a smidge better, but discard Stadium, not the worst effect to have in the game. So Thunderstar for 4 energy, super wordy move, but says choose one of your opponent's Pokemon 4 times. You can choose the same Pokemon more than once. So I think this is supposed to say choose one of your opponent's Pokemon up to 4 times. So you can choose up to 4 Pokemon. So yeah, you can choose up to 4, or you can just choose 1. For each time you choose a Pokemon, you do 60 damage to it. This damage isn't affected by weakness and resistance. Okay. So a lot to digest here, but essentially you can do 60 damage to 4, 120 to 1, and then 60 to 2. I think it's correct. Yeah, that should be correct. 180 to 1, and then 60 to another, and then 120 to 2. I think that's how the damage is split. My maths is really not my strongest suit, and it's why I'm pretty still mediocre at this game, despite playing for years. So, do let me know if there was something wrong with those numbers. But Thunderstar, really interesting move. It does honestly have the potential to be pretty cool because, I mean, the sniping here is really strong. 60 up to 4 times. Especially considering you can just allocate the damage freely, which I do love. So, you can just do the 180 or the 120 if it's really necessary. So it is pretty cool to see. Do like this move a lot. I think it's pretty cool. Not being affected by weakness obviously kind of sucks. So even if you hit the active Palkia, you're not actually hitting for weakness, which kind of, obviously sucks a bit. But yeah, not that bad. Not bad of a move at all. I think overall, in summary, if you're playing these guys, I think they're better off as pairs, right? I think the exception to that is maybe Deoxys Vmax. So, for example, if I was playing Deoxys Vmax, I would build it as a quad tanky deck with potions, Moo Cheese, honey, all those kind of goodies. If you really want to play Deoxys Vstar, I would say build an Arceus variant and then run 2 or 3 of these guys and then 1 or 2 of these guys, just because the ability is actually really nice. So obviously what you can do is Arceus power up 3 energy to Deoxys V and then make use of either Deoxys, depending on the matchup, or Deoxys Vstar. And then, of course, you want to be able to have a V-Star power once per game if you don't use Arceuses. But you do have the option to use Max Drain, which will be doing 160 if you've charged up 3 basics like energy and not used double turbo, so that is worth bearing in mind still. So yeah, Deoxys, not a bad card. Bad cards, I should say. I do prefer these to the Zeroora ones for sure. But either way, I don't think Zeroora is actually that bad either. Sort of the similar situation. If you're playing an Arceus variant, I'd run a higher count of a Zerora Vstar, and then maybe 1 or 2 of Zerora Vmax. I do think Reaction Pulse is really strong. Also the burst potential of Thunderstar is really good as well. So maybe in sort of a fluffy box, this could be a pretty lethal partner. There is one more card to talk about, but this is essentially the end of the video. If you just want to click off now, Camo Poncho says attach. Yep, it's just a tool card. Don't know why I bother reading that. If the Pokemon's card is attached to is Pokemon Vstar or Vmax, whenever your opponent plays a supporter card from their hand, to prevent all effects of that card done to this Pokemon. So this does mean they can't be bossed, which is pretty big actually. So if you want to take advantage of, I mean, this is essentially a more protective version of Deoxys, I guess, if it's attached. Because if you have Deoxys in the active, and then you start manually attaching to your benched Vstar Vmax, then and you have a poncho attached, they can't boss it. So it is pretty interesting. I don't think it's great compared to Choice Belt, Big Charm, the staples that we have already. But maybe somewhere down the line there's like a niche use for this. But otherwise, maybe not the strongest. Could be okay with Dalgar, I guess, but nothing really that strong. So yeah, overall, pretty cool cards. Glad they were revealed so early and they're pretty cool. Not sure if I'll bother testing any of these, but yeah, not bad cards at all. Let me know what you think down below, of course. It's been Empower. Hope you enjoyed watching, and I'll hopefully see you all next time. Thank you.